Hello, everyone. Greetings. I hope everybody can hear me. I hope you enjoyed the little video clip that we had created. And I hope you're as excited as I am to go through this awesome webinar. So just a couple of house cleaning or housekeeping tips, right? Everyone will be muted during the presentation. Please post any questions that you have in the questions area, and our team will be answering the questions as we proceed throughout the presentation. The presentation will be conducted by a couple of our channel managers, actually four of our channel managers, as well as our expert, our technical expert in almost every category, and his name is Jimmy. So we also have, I also want to take the moment to highlight two of our global lead champions on Hive, which is pretty awesome. We have two in-house global lead champions, one for the technical side and one for the channel side, right? So Ross Wood is our global commercials lead, and Jimmy Bernaro is our global technical lead. So towards the end of the presentation, please pay close attention because we will be announcing maybe some giveaways that you could be eligible for. And once again, we really appreciate you all for joining, and please reach out to your channel managers if you have any questions, need any additional information, or would like to get a copy of this presentation. We'll send it out to everybody towards the end of the presentation. We'll also send it out, via email to all that have attended the session. So thanks again, everyone. Looking forward to it. And we're going to take it away, Ross and Jimmy.
Awesome. Thanks, Dom. We've got a very exciting lineup for you guys. Jimmy, why don't you go ahead and bring up the agenda, and let's go through some of the topics that we're going to cover for everybody today. And yeah, why don't you go ahead and take it from there?
Awesome. Thanks, Ross. Appreciate it. We've got a few things lined up for you. These are our topics today. First thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about, when it comes to PaperCut Hive, what we think is the ideal customer. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to get into a little bit of an introduction into PaperCut Hive. We'll want to go over the product a little bit. So we'll do a little bit of a review, not get too technical, but talk about how it works a little bit. It wouldn't be software unless we were talking about licensing, so we'll definitely be bringing that up. And then finally, at the tail end of all of this, we'll put a cap on it, and we'll talk about how we can help get you onboarded to start selling PaperCut Hive. That's our agenda, Ross. What do you think?
That's perfect. And I'm actually really excited, especially because we're going to start off with the ideal customer, right? Rather than spending a lot of time just talking about the product, hopefully a lot of the people who are joining today's call have already heard of PaperCut Hive. They've already seen some of the information on it, maybe the marketing blasts that have gone out, right? Or even engagement with their channel managers. But ideally, speaking of customers, and someone who would really benefit from a product like PaperCut Hive, a cloud-hosted print management solution. So Jody, I actually want to tie you into this conversation, and I want to talk about what are the types of customers that truly need or would really benefit from PaperCut Hive. And one of the ideal customer types to me that really stands out is one with little to no infrastructure, right? So whether it be that they don't have an application server to host PaperCut Hive on, they don't have a domain controller where their users are stored, they don't have in-house IT, they don't, right? All of these things that typically end up pushing them towards a SaaS cloud product. So Jody, what are some of those examples of customers that would benefit from a product like PaperCut Hive and someone who doesn't typically have this kind of infrastructure?
You know what? Yeah, Ross, you're right. We've all been in these customer environments where they don't have an IT on site or resources internally to host services. Maybe they've even got multiple locations that they're not tied together under a single network domain. We want to be able to support those environments as well. And over the recent years, we've really seen the need grow in areas like property management, hospitality industry, small and large financial institutions, CPA offices, even in those bigger enterprise companies. So it's worth noting that while we do serve the SMB environments, Hive is completely scalable. So we can be inclusive of those enterprise opportunities as well.
That's a really good point, Jody. So speaking to the idea that PaperCut Hive is a brand new product we're bringing into the portfolio, and it's not just intended to be for the SMB market, but rather something that is constantly being developed, added to. And from what you're saying, Jody, it sounds like this would be really a good fit for just about anyone who falls in this category.
You're right. It's a completely scalable solution, so it's great for the SMB market, but really it caters to any market that needs print management but lacks the infrastructure to support that.
Perfect. I think that's a great way to kind of wrap that up. Now, there is another customer type that I think fits really, really well as far as being a customer who would benefit from PaperCut Hive and someone who could really stand out as having a need for a solution like PaperCut Hive. Because let's face it, we've seen a lot with remote workforces. I can even relate to that. I'm working from home right now, sitting here in my basement, and I just think about if I didn't have a VPN, how is it that I would be able to print to the office to then show up and grab my job, or even just to be able to gain access into the PaperCut administrative portal, just so that I can make changes or do a demo and things like that. So I could obviously relate to this. I think a lot of people on today's call can. Jody, could you speak a little bit to the customers that really would benefit from PaperCut Hive in that they have a remote workforce they're trying to support?
You know, I think we've all had more exposure to this over the last year, especially with the advent of the distributed workforces growing. And we're seeing more in the way of hoteling and different shared environments, real estate offices, private healthcare. You know, people are on the move and they need to be able to print from anywhere.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You know, thinking about printing from anywhere, if one bullet point on this list right here that stands out to me that really would define that is construction and engineering. I'm sure a lot of us on this call have engaged with construction companies in the past who they have job sites that are out in the woods or off of a highway that they're working on, and at the end of the day, they just have a couple computers. They may have a copier or a printer that they would get from their vendor, and they have internet, right? So they don't have a lot to offer. And how much of a benefit would that be if those same customers could have something that's a cloud solution, be able to track and report those print jobs that are happening at the job site, and best of all, really just make printing at that job site that much easier and that much more accessible. So I love that we have construction and engineering here. Now, there was another one that's not listed here, but it really kind of combines both of the previous two topics. So we've got the remote workforce and then we've got low infrastructure. And so what I think of are these co-working spaces or shared office spaces, or really even companies that are just doing a concept like hoteling. But nonetheless, Jody, I wanted to ask you, when it comes to looking at co-working spaces and shared office spaces, how is it that PaperCut Hive also makes an impact there?
Well, Ross, you know, you hit the nail on the head there. The co-working spaces, shared office spaces, and still getting the tools accessible for our users. So allowing them to have access to those print tools and still charge or track for prints and copies that are made at the device. There isn't always going to be someone on site in those types of environments, and there's a lot of activity with people coming and going. And so what PaperCut Hive does is it allows them to let their users access those resources, whether they're on site or remote.
That's fantastic. So whether it be it's a co-working space, we're talking about a real estate office, you've got users who come and go, right? High turnover. They want the ability to not just be able to print, but then the admin who runs the office says, well, hey, I'd like to be able to charge them for those print jobs, copies, faxes, scans, things that are being done on the device that we've leased from our vendor, right? Because it's an office expense. So not only do they get a cloud solution that when you think of a co-working space, they definitely don't have infrastructure. They
Right.
definitely don't have a domain controller. They might look at you with that kind of a deer in the headlights look when you mention those things. So to be able to say that they can track and report and even do some basic cost recovery around what's being done by their users, that's really important stuff. Thank you, Jody, for that. Now, Jimmy, I think that kind of covers the first three really kind of ideal customer scenario types that customers would fall into. What were your thoughts on that for what we covered as far as an ideal customer?
Well, if I could sum up what I think is the ideal customer based on what we just talked about, sounds to me like PaperCut Hive could be great for all types of organization sizes, whether we're talking about those that have small, low to no IT, um, maybe remote workers that are looking to submit their print jobs securely, and those scenarios where users are bringing in their own devices, such as the co-working spaces. What do you think? Did I sum that up pretty good, Ross?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great way to say it. And it's important to mention that whether they're on or off network, these users are coming and going, working from a coffee shop, working from home. As long as they've got basic internet access, they're able to print and get what they need to done.
Very nice. Well, what I'd like to do then is let's move to our next section. We're going to get into introducing PaperCut a bit more, but what I'd like to do first is I'd like to introduce Leslie and Jennifer. And as we get into this section, I'd like to maybe see, Leslie, could you explain a little bit about what organizations are actually asking for when they're talking about, say, print management in the cloud? Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely, Jimmy. I'd be happy to. I think as many of our listeners are aware, a lot of companies and organizations, they're transitioning everything to the cloud, including print. And, that's creating a lot of new opportunities for print management, which is incredibly exciting. And as organizations become, more and more focused on overall operating costs, I'm sure everybody on the call can relate to that. We hear that a lot. If they implement Hive, they're able to offer those organizations the ability to reduce the cost of consumables, and they can provide an eco-friendly solution as well. The SMB market for print management has virtually been untapped, Jimmy. It's really exciting. And I think the reason why is PaperCut MF, it needed an on-prem infrastructure and IT resources to manage it. Hive, being a SaaS model, doesn't require IT resources, and it's a lot more affordable. Jen, I had a question for you. Could you tell me what customers are actually looking for?
Yeah, of course, no problem. And moving on, I think that we can all agree that customers and even those potential customers are asking for cloud-hosted print management. They all want it. It's becoming so popular. I have multiple meeting requests actually every week. They call and they want to discuss the cloud-hosted print management. They also want a subscription-based pricing that's easy to budget and still allows for visibility into what's being printed, by whom. Really, Leslie, let's face it, outsourced IT has become very expensive. And having an in-house IT staff who have to constantly focus on print management is time consuming and expensive too. And most importantly, they want to protect their client and employee data. Can we finally put an end to all the documents sitting uncollected at the printer that no one ever goes to pick up?
Oh, yes, please, Jennifer.
At the end of the day, I think we all know customers that need or want to reduce their cost. So, Leslie, how does Hive help enable customers to do that?
Excellent question, Jen. And I totally second you on those thoughts about, those uncollected documents at the printer. I know that drives a lot of people crazy.
Yes.
So to kind of, answer your question, a lot of businesses, they really don't have insight into how much print is actually costing them.
Right.
And, after a software trial, their reaction is often, whoa, I'm spending that much on printing?
It's
I know
shocking.
our listeners can relate to those conversations.
Yes.
And that visibility, it quickly turns into a need to have a system to encourage responsible printing.
Mm-hmm.
When users are encouraged to choose like more eco-friendly choices, like for example, duplex or grayscale, their printing behavior changes, and it's just better for everybody in the long run.
Totally.
So Jen, I'm kind of curious. Have you ever heard from a customer that they just don't have enough IT resources or they have limited bandwidth to handle any other software solution?
Yes, I hear this all the time, like almost daily. Many businesses are currently looking for ways to simplify how they're managing their printing. And IT folks everywhere, probably even IT folks on this call right now, can feel the pain of getting pulled a million ways. Some companies have that one dedicated IT member who sits at their desk and focuses on print management all day. You can imagine, Leslie, that allows for little to no time for all the remaining IT tasks. And speaking of those remaining IT tasks that don't get completed, if they're focusing all day on print management, when is their time and who exactly is taking care to protect the end user and employee data?
Jen, really good question. I think when you're implementing Hive, as we all know, employee documents, they stay confidential.
Right.
And it helps companies comply with privacy legislation. And we are constantly hearing, right, in our conversations, oh, a customer needs to do this, this, and this. Hive can help them when it comes to those types of conversations. With something like secure print release, with say like Find Me printing as an example, we're then reducing the risk for print-related data breaches.
Right.
Later in the presentation, our buddy Jimmy, I know he's going to dig a little bit deeper, but I wanted to mention that Hive offers job encryption when documents are at rest and while they're in transit. So Jimmy, I'm going to hand it off to you.
Thanks, Leslie. I appreciate that. And also you, Jennifer, as well. So if I could sum up what we just talked about, what we're saying is that what customers are actually looking for when it comes to print management in the cloud is they want to drive down the cost of printing. They want to gain better insight into their printing environment, do more with less IT resources, and all at the same time protect user data. Did I sum that up okay?
Yeah.
Absolutely, Jimmy. Great job.
You got it. You're a great
Perfect, as
listener,
always.
Jimmy.
Thank you. Thanks, Ross. Appreciate that.
And I just want to reiterate that when you mentioned doing more with less IT resources, I think everybody on this call knows that, right? The amount of customers who are asking to be able to do more with less. I want to do all of these things, but not have it on an application server inside. I want to be able to have print management, tracking, reporting, and not have to have someone who's constantly managing, right? Something easy to use. I don't have to install on site. Doing more with less, I can't stress that enough.
Let's do a little bit of a product overview. Before we get started, one thing I'd like to mention is that there are going to be some new terms that we've introduced with PaperCut Hive. We have put a cheat sheet together for everyone, so if you haven't seen that or received that yet, that will be coming your way. But what I think we should do first is let's move into some of the core products. Ross, could you do me a favor and tell me this? I get this question quite a bit, and that is PaperCut Hive going to be replacing PaperCut MF? Have you heard that question before?
Yeah, next to how much does it cost and how soon can I get it? So this is definitely one of the top questions, absolutely. And really just kind of address it frankly, to put it this way, you've got PaperCut MF, 21 years in the making. We're on version 21 as of, just a few weeks ago, something like that. Anyway, 21 years in the making, that is the flagship product and still is. With 21 years, it's packed full of features. It's a fantastic product. Now, do I think that Hive will eventually get to the point where it has some of those same features? Absolutely. The goal is to constantly do product updates and kind of catch up to what we've been able to have so much success with MF. But the idea more so here with Hive is that we're complementing the overall print management portfolio for our resellers. Those opportunities we talked about earlier, where the no infrastructure, little to no IT, domain controllers and things like that not being available, those in the past might have been opportunities that were missed with PaperCut MF. So the idea here is that we complement the portfolio to bring in a product that actually addresses those same customers that we may have passed on previously, and then also net new ones coming in that we're having conversations with who are demanding for a cloud-based solution. So the idea here is not that it's going to replace it, although what could happen in another 20 years. The idea for now is that this is going to be a complementing product to add to their overall print management portfolio.
Great. Okay, so PaperCut MF is going to be around for a while.
Absolutely. Yeah, don't expect PaperCut MF to be up and running away anytime soon.
All right, terrific. All right, well, let's go ahead and get into what some of the core functions are of PaperCut Hive. We've got a few listed here. I'd like to run through them very quickly. And again, we're talking about some new terms, so I will do my best to be brief and concise. First thing we want to consider is that PaperCut Hive is constantly being updated. If you think about PaperCut MF on-prem, you would typically have to update that server. With Hive, everything is taken care of in the cloud, not to mention not only the functionality updates, but we're talking about new features. That's going to be released in real time. The other thing is going to be job encryption. What's really important about this is that whether the document that needs to be printed is moving in or out, whether it's sitting there and waiting, the information is all encrypted. The other thing too is that at any point inside of PaperCut Hive, there is no trust established for any part of the document as it's being moved. Everything is authenticated, everything is secured. The other thing on that note is that since day one, when the first line of code was written, security was one of those forefront thoughts. That's what shift left security is all about. We go all the way to the beginning of the code and we start considering security from the get-go rather than putting a product together and say, we should probably work some security into this. No, it was from day one. And then the last thing that I'd like to introduce is this idea of a self-healing edge mesh. In fact, we're going to get into the edge mesh right now.
Jimmy, looking at those slides and thinking about the edge mesh, the nodes, and all these different things we're covering, it truly does sound like this is not PaperCut MF repackaged, thrown into the cloud, open up some ports, and make it a cloud product and add security. This really is a brand new product in the making, and that's been released, correct?
That is absolutely correct. Brand new product. You could think of it as obviously it's from our friends at PaperCut, so we've already got very good confidence in the things that they're able to produce. This is a brand new product built from the ground up. In fact, the idea of PaperCut Hive, really the heart of it is this thing that we do call an edge mesh. So a couple of key terms that I'd like to introduce very quickly, and it's the idea of this thing called an edge node. An edge node is one of these items that you see right here. And in simple terms, an edge node is a computer. It could be running Windows, Mac, it could be a desktop, it could be a laptop. But what makes that edge node special is that it's running the PaperCut Hive edge node service. And when I take one edge node and I add another and then another, we end up with an edge mesh. And this edge mesh is a network of all of these different edge nodes all working together and works or operates much like a local print server. It's just that they're all working together. The other thing about the edge mesh is because it is acting like a print server, the print job is replicated to any one of the nodes. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier, whether we're moving a document in or through the edge mesh, all of the information is secured. It is encrypted with multi-part keys. When we send the document over to print and it moves through the edge mesh or it sits on one of those nodes waiting to be released, all of that information is secured and encrypted. The other great thing about the edge mesh is that if one of those nodes were to leave the edge mesh, it could be a computer that is a laptop, we close the lid, and it leaves the edge mesh. Another node can step right in and take its place. And that's what we mean by a resilient fault-tolerant, self-healing edge mesh. So unlike a traditional print server, what you end up with the edge mesh is that there's no single point of failure.
Hey, Jimmy, real
Yeah.
quick before we move on, I look at this and I see that we have this local edge mesh that kind of creates the environment within which we are printing, right? So you've got users, whether on laptops, they're on their workstation, maybe they're printing from their phones, right? And we're showing that edge mesh local to the actual work office. Let's talk about the cloud piece that's actually kicked off to the side there. And so we mentioned that users working remotely. So if I'm working from a coffee shop and I wanted to submit my print job and retrieve that when I come into the office, tell me kind of a little bit about how the cloud piece comes into play when I want to submit that print job and how that works within the edge mesh.
That's a really great question. It's another item that makes PaperCut Hive very unique. This is something that can be turned on. It's turned off by default. But when we turn it on, that's going to enable a user to be able to print from outside of the network, meaning they'll be able to submit their job and it will go up into the cloud, where the cloud, when it comes to PaperCut Hive, will act as a broker between the person that's submitting the print and the edge mesh where the printer actually lives. Another way to say that would be the network that the printer lives. So that's what's really neat about the cloud node, is that, in short, it enables that remote printing.
That is really fantastic. So to kind of summarize that up in a sales pitch kind of way for those of us who are on the call and thinking, how am I going to position this for customers? What I really get out of what you just said there is that you do get the best of both worlds. I have a local edge mesh where when I print and I'm within that edge mesh, my jobs, stay local. They don't have to go to the cloud every time just to come right back down to the same office. They're highly available because if I print and then turn around and shut off my laptop, another edge node has already replicated my job. And so my jobs stay local, they stay secure, they're quick, they're easy, they're reliable, all that great things. But then if I do remove myself from that local edge mesh and I am working from, say, the coffee shop or the construction office trailer out on a job site, as long as I have internet, basic internet access, right, I can still submit my print job and then it goes through the cloud. Thus, the meaning of you get the best of both worlds.
Best of both worlds indeed, Ross. You're absolutely correct. Now, I would imagine that folks that are brand new to Hive, they're probably wondering what the setup process or the setup experience is like. We should probably run through those steps very quickly, but if I can just throw something in first, the setup is actually quite easy, considering the way that we would install other products. It's really simple. The first thing we do is whenever a customer purchases Hive, they're going to get an organization ID in the form of an activation link. When they click on the link, they start the setup process as the initial admin that does a printer discovery. They then send themselves an invitation as a user. We then roll out PaperCut Hive to the rest of our environment, and at that point, we start to enjoy the benefits of what PaperCut Hive brings. So I'm going to step through those very quickly. As I mentioned, an activation link goes out. This is going to be where the initial admin gets their login created. Once they do that, they're going to click on the Get Setup, and it's going to download that Edge node service that I mentioned, and that is going to do the next part of the process, and that's to start discovering printers. As soon as we find at least one printer, then the admin is able to click Continue and get right into the admin interface, which gets us into the third step. The setup admin is then going to invite themselves as a user, so that way they'll be able to print into PaperCut Hive. They will complete a 3-step process that first gets the computer app installed on their workstation. It could be a Windows machine or a Mac machine. And again, this is that Edge node service that's installing. The other thing is that they're going to be able to do is install their mobile app. Then they'll be able to start submitting print. And this is the same experience that the user would go through when they start setting up Hive.
Hey, Jimmy. Real
Yeah.
quick on that note. So basically, admin invites themselves as an admin, then they're in Hive and they invite themselves as a user. Now, I see that there's 3 steps, and that second one, the one in the middle, what if an end user says that, they don't want to use their phone, they've got a flip phone, whatever the case may be, but what if there's any hesitancy around the installation of the mobile app?
Well, if they have a flip phone and don't have a smartphone, you think everybody probably has one, but you're right, that's not
You'd
the
hope.
case.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do not have to install the mobile app. The mobile app gives them the ability from their smartphone, whether it's Android or iOS, to be able to release a print job on hold or submit a print job from their mobile device. However, if they don't have a mobile device, they don't have to complete that step.
Awesome. Just wanted to be sure in case, because we have seen that question come up a handful of times, in the sense of, hey, I'm inviting, all my users and I'm customer XYZ. What if a couple of my users don't install the app? Are they not going to be able to do anything? And say, well, they won't be able to do anything from the perspective of their phone or their mobile device, but they can still print and release jobs. Thank you, Jimmy.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. So right now, the initial admin is the only person that can use PaperCut Hive. They can log into the web interface, they can print, they can release, but it's really time to start sharing a little bit of the fun. That takes us into our 4th step, which is we start rolling out PaperCut Hive. So what the initial admin will do is they can start sending out email invitations to any users that they want. They can do one email address, they can do multiple email addresses at a time. The other thing that they can also do is if they are a Microsoft Azure Active Directory, or they have that Microsoft Azure Active Directory instance, they could use that. It's one of the add-ins that we have in Hive, and we'll look at that in just a moment, where they can bring users in to start facilitating sending out those email invitations. What's also kind of cool is that during that printer discovery process that I had mentioned, the initial admin also has the ability to print out a label for each printer. It can contain this QR code, a printer ID, and we could even put an NFC tag on top of the printer for the purposes of print release. However, this label serves another purpose. If you have guests or visitors that are not inside of PaperCut Hive and they were to use their smartphone and scan that QR code, that will actually initiate a self-invitation that the initial admin can approve manually, or we can set up PaperCut Hive in a way that approvals are that they take place automatically. So that's what's really neat about this label, and this is some other ways that we can start to help roll PaperCut Hive out. The other thing before we finish this final step is that there are apps that can be installed on multifunction devices that do a couple things. One is what we call our full embedded app. It locks the machine down, you can badge in, you can release print, and then you can access the device functions, and Hive will be able to track the copies and the scans and the faxes. Then we have this light embedded app that we can put on where a user can punch in their user code. They'll get that in that email invitation, by the way. And when they do that, they can see any print jobs that they have that are waiting for them to be released. So that's, in a nutshell, what the rollout experience looks like. Now that that's done, it's time to start taking PaperCut Hive and start to configure it even further. Now, if we have a little bit of time, rather than go over these items that you see here on the slide, I'd actually like to pull up our web interface. You think we got a little time to do that, Ross?
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea. Let's just kind of go through real quick overview and just touch on each of the main points real quickly so everybody can get an idea of what it.
Okay, great. What I'm going to do is I'm going to log in as an admin. All right, I went to hive.papercut.com. I put my login. and it knows exactly who I am, and welcome to PaperCut Hive. I'm going to glide through some of these different features, but what I'd like to explain very quickly, when we come into hive.papercut.com, it shows me my organization up in the URL, and I'm presented with the home screen where I get a nice little overview of what is happening in the system. Not only who's logging in and what's going on, but I can get paper forecasts and toner forecasts as well. In this configure section, under print security, we can control how printing takes place in a secure fashion before the print takes place, while the printing is taking place, as well as after the print has taken place. There's also some settings to help reduce waste. And when we talk about reduce waste, we can promote certain features such as two-sided black and white. We can be very forceful with how we do that, and we can even get a little clever. Under easy printing, this is how I can manage new users, how the users are signed up, any existing users that I have, some settings around that, and then finally some things to help make life a little bit easier for our administrators. I'm going to jump down real quick and just show you under Explore a few more things. One is this thing called a story tree. We see this once a month, and it gives the organization a nice overview of what's actually happening in the system, and it's broken down by month. Things like who are my top users and how many pages were printed. Every
Quick
job
comment
inside
on
of
that,
paper.
Jimmy.
Oh
Just wanted
yeah,
to say on the story tree, the one thing I
yeah.
just wanted to make a quick comment on is what a great way to be able to say how when you're putting those rules in place, such as promoting two-sided, promoting color, things like that, what a great way to be able to see how that impacts your actual print environment over time is right here in that story tree.
Yeah, that's a really good point. In fact, I kind of glossed over this, but inside of March, if I look under printing DNA, it gives me a little bit of information with some options, and it gives me a jump spot that takes me right into that setting that can help with this particular area. So in addition to knowing that the settings are there, PaperCut Hive is going to help get you there as well. Let's have a quick peek at the job log, because every job inside of PaperCut Hive does get tracked. In fact, we've got a job right here that is on hold, and we have some jobs that are completed. Also, full accountability when it comes to PaperCut Hive. Who's logging into the system? What's taking place? What printers are going online, offline? And then finally, as we get into this manage section, here is where I can invite more users. I can view the current users that I currently have right now. If I go into printers, that printer discovery started bringing in all these different printers that you see here, which can be published or unpublished if I want. Any printer that I can put a printer app on will give me that option when we go into the printer. Just going to scroll real quick, and we've got one printer right here where we have an app that's already active. If I go into the details, this shows me the details about the printer. Here's that nice label I was talking about earlier. And if I jump over into the apps, this shows me what apps are available and the ones that I can install.
And so, Jimmy, when you're clicking the publish and unpublish, just for everyone who's watching that, basically at that point, what you're doing is you're saying that, okay, I've got a list of all of my discovered devices, and once I've published them, I'm making it available for tracking and actually being able to see what's happening, and thus also enforcing secure print release. Is that in essence what we're doing with that publish button?
That's correct. Any printer that is published will be available for a user to be able to release from. When they're on their mobile device, for example, they could choose from a list. They could choose the QR code option that'll bring up a scanner to scan that printer label. It'll give them the NFC option, and then there will be a code that represents the actual printer that they could punch in manually if they're standing in front of that machine. Some or all of which, by the way, can be enabled or disabled by the admin.
So in essence, if it's published, it's being tracked.
You got it. It's
Thank you.
going to show up in the job log. Yes, sir. We're almost done. Let's take a look at our edge mesh. These are some of the computers that we currently have right now that are running as different nodes. Most computers come in as a standard node, like the ones that you see here, but I can promote or I can demote these to a passive node, which does not participate in that edge mesh. They're just going to be printing. These standard nodes are ones that may leave the edge mesh, so we're not really counting on them to always be there, but the super nodes we definitely are counting on to always be there. We turn on or enable a super node when that machine is going to always be in the network, always has visibility to the printer, and has a static IP address, and that's what makes a good super node. But here's that cloud node option we were talking about a little bit earlier. We've got it turned on and it's a part of our mesh, so that enables remote printing for us.
Hey, Jimmy, this is
Yes.
fantastic. I am ready. Thank you for showing me how to get the install process for Hive. Send me
Before
the
you-
link. I need, my customer needs this.
Yeah, you got it. Before I do,
Sorry,
I
I was
want to
just
take,
excited.
I know it. I would like to show just one super quick thing real quick, and that's these add-ons. We talked about continuous delivery a little bit earlier. This is one of those areas that you're going to see over time. You're going to see more add-ons show up inside of PaperCut Hive. This is going to basically be ways to extend additional functionality inside of the Hive organization.
Hey, Jimmy, before you proceed to the next slide, can we do a quick little sneak preview of one of the add-ons here that will not show for others because it's a custom developed add-on that ecoprintQ is currently working on?
You may be talking about the Google Data Studio.
I am.
All right.
A very, very, very exciting story to tell about this. The Google Data Studio connector is going to be accessible to anybody with the Hive interface or Hive subscription. And it will be a paid service, but is an add-on for further developing, for further reporting. Really intuitive, really nice. Almost, if you're familiar with Power BI like reporting. So stay tuned. It's coming soon in a theater near you. Developed by ecoprintQ, and it will be available as an add-on.
Hey, Dom, for our listeners who've taken the time to join today's call, is there anything that we could maybe put around the Google Data Analytics connector and for their time today?
Good question. Man, you are definitely putting me on the spot. But yes, yes, for the ones that have joined the call this session, reach out to your channel manager and they will remind me that I just said this. We will, at some point, pre-release, I'll add you to a pre-release program for you to help test the product out. And Ross, I hope that was not recorded because I will deny it. No,
It is recorded on the spot. We've got it. No, I think that's really great. So early access for everybody who's on the call to be able to see it and use it in their NFR and their showroom setups. I think it's just going to be a powerful tool that everybody should be able to see. And I just want everyone to have their hands on it already. So just can't wait for it to be done.
Wow, that's sweet. Very nice. Very nice. Jody, I know you were a little excited. Thanks for expressing your enthusiasm. Yeah. Yeah. So you wanted an activation link.
Yes, I'm ready. I have a customer who needs this, and I'm ready to go.
Jody, I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but you got to slow down, girl. We have a lot more to cover before we get to the activation link for your customer. We don't know any of their requirements. We don't know the models of their printers they're using. Come on, let's go to the next slide, okay? And I'll help you work your way through it.
All right, tell me what I need. What are the different levels?
Okay, so basically there are 3 different subscription levels available. And to get your customer started, I'm going to hook them up with Hive Mobile Release, okay?
Perfect. Perfect. Yes, because everybody's walking around with their phone in their hands these days. But tell me more about these traditional users that are not comfortable with using their phones and still want to be able to release the device.
Oh, okay. So you have users that want to release at the device, but not with their phone. That's
Yep.
no problem. Okay, we still got you covered with Hive. I'm going to bump you up to Hive Lite Embedded Release. It's like the second level. With Hive Lite Embedded Release, all the users will be able to release with their phones at the device. The more traditional employees will have the option to click on the Hive app on the MFD, enter their PIN code to release their print job, and then additionally with Hive Lite Embedded, all of their printing will be tracked.
Okay, so, but at this point, we're just talking about printing. My customer
Yeah.
also needs to track their copying and scanning and faxing at the device. And by the way, we still want all the security too.
Okay, don't worry, Jody. I still got you, girl, okay? With Hive Full Embedded, the end users will be able to release with their mobile phones. Their traditional users will have the option to authenticate by PIN code on the device app. You'll be able to track all of the printing, copying, scanning, faxing, and finally, for total security and peace of mind, the MFD will be fully locked down. And oh yeah, I almost forgot to mention, with Hive Full Embedded, they'll have the option to have a card reader or badge release. So they'll have 3 ways to authenticate or more. It's crazy, mind blown.
That is quite awesome. I am very excited about that as well. Okay, so we've got 3 tiers. Got
Yeah.
it. Let's dive in a little bit and elaborate on each license type because I
Yes.
need to learn about the flexibility that Hive offers.
Yes. Okay, are you looking at the slide with me, Jody?
I'm with you.
Okay, perfect. It's really clear, easy to understand. Start at the bottom and know that Hive is totally flexible. A customer can have a full embedded, a mobile release, and a light embedded release all in the same office. That's however we need to set them up. So with mobile release, think of it as the base package level. You can do secure print release from your phone. Any device you're choosing, it is not embedded. I repeat, it is not embedded. It is just for people that need to secure release using a mobile phone.
Not embedded. Got it.
Yes.
Okay. So the light embedded release, that
Mhm.
includes all of the functionality of the mobile release, which you just covered,
Mhm.
plus being able to walk up to the device and enter a PIN code to release my print job. So we're tracking printing.
Yeah, you got it, Jody. You're an expert now. Yeah, and then finally, that tier 3 full embedded, you can think of it as being similar to the embedded licenses on MF, right? The device is totally locked down, allowing for all the types of authentication. So you can use mobile release from your phone, PIN code, and or the card or badge, employee badges. The full embedded is the only Hive tier that includes the tracking of copy, scan, print, and fax. That's important to remember.
All right. So full embedded is the full enchilada. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're making me hungry, Jody.
All right. And so, but really, to back up for a second, what you just said that previously, that we can have all 3 of these different options available in one environment. So we can really cater to any of their needs.
Absolutely. That's why Hive fits for all customers. It's totally flexible and scalable, no matter who our customer is.
That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I lost you there.
Well,
Jimmy, are you
Nope,
there?
sorry.
I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, maybe I should just elaborate just a little bit. When we talk about mobile release, light embedded, full embedded, right now today, we have certain manufacturers that have full embedded and some manufacturers that have light embedded. Some have both. But if I could just real quick mention for mobile release, one thing we should probably think about is if for whatever reason the light embedded or full embedded isn't quite an option, the mobile release is always an option. It's going to work with pretty much every single printer that's out there. So with anybody who's got a printer, mobile release, you're definitely covered. On the light embedded, what we want to do is consider the manufacturer. In this particular case with light embedded, we can fit that or install that printer app onto Sharp N2 or Toshiba V3, Konica Minolta iOption, HP. If we're talking HPs, Future Smart 4 is what we're looking for there. Xerox CIP and Fuji Xerox. And as you've already mentioned, you can punch in a code. That's going to be that user code that you got on your email invite, and you'll be able to put that in. Let me just mention one quick thing too, that we have been asked, when you get that user code, can you actually change it? And the short answer is today you actually can. That was one of the feature enhancements or continuous delivery items that was delivered by PaperCut in a not too long ago point in time. So anyway, if they can't remember their user code that they got initially, it can definitely be changed. And then finally, the full embedded. That's available on Ricoh Smart SDK, Kyocera HiPass, Sharp N2, Toshiba V3. Right now, we do have that's literally, it's almost like it's coming around the corner. It's really close, and that's the HP. So HP is going to not only have the light embedded, but the full embedded is going to be coming soon. That is currently in beta stage right now. So if there are any opportunities out there with HP, certainly let your channel manager know, and we'll see what we can do to get somebody's hands on that sooner rather than later.
And Jimmy, one more to add to that list is actually on the full embedded. We do have Fuji Xerox on the full embedded now as well.
Oh, wow. So this stuff is just updating like popcorn. It's like, boom. Awesome. Let's see. So I think those are our release types. Maybe we should start to get towards the wind down. Let's talk about
Yay.
onboarding. Yeah, so let's do this. Let's hit each one of these. Who wants to start?
I'd love to, Jimmy. It's Leslie here.
Okay. All right.
So the first step would be a product demo, and you can engage a channel manager. We can schedule a virtual kickoff and a sales meeting with the team or with a customer. Just reach out to your channel manager, and we will coordinate that for you. And who's going to talk about the next step?
Me. Hey, Jen Muller here from up in the northeast of the United States. Guys, everyone should be requesting their NFR for their showroom. If you already have it, excellent job. For everyone else, please reach out to your channel manager ASAP and we will get that ordered for you. Is that right, Jimmy?
I would definitely agree. There's a good chance one of your friendly ecoprintQ product specialists will be assisting with that NFR install. So I completely agree. Maybe I could talk about the sales certification. Well, I tell you what, we should probably talk about the portal access. Who wants to talk about the portal
Well, you know what,
access?
Jimmy, they go hand in hand. So,
Okay.
but sure, I'll jump in here. So in addition to your ecoprintQ resources, we want to be sure that you also have access to the PaperCut portal. So not only is it filled with additional resources like brochures and self-paced training, as the man said, sales and tech certification, take it away, Jimmy.
All right, very good. Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. Thanks, Jody. I got excited, by the way. So
It happens.
yeah, with the portal access, that's where you're going to go to gain access to the e-learning that's available on PaperCut's website. Right now, there's actually a few courses that you want to get signed up for. There's a sales track. There is a technical track that you go through. And by the way, with the technical track, you'll get certification at the end of that. And it's not real easy. It's a little challenging. So definitely be prepared for that. And by the way, tomorrow we're going to be doing a technical session on PaperCut Hive. So it's going to actually start about the same time as this one. But with that, You can also reach out to your channel manager if you have any questions about training, and we'll definitely get you steered in the right direction. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So who's next? Yeah.
I think that just leaves me. I just wanted to say I did post into the chat for everybody a link, and that link actually is to go to the portal. As part of your portal access, you can sign up for the CAN, that is the Cloud Appreciation Network. So I encourage everybody who is on this meeting just to check the chat real quick, click on that link. That way, if you haven't been to the portal in a while, if you haven't had the opportunity to look at some of the cloud updates, you will see the ability to sign up for the CAN, which basically is just anything cloud related, you'll get an email about, and you'll get a notification, a heads up, so you can kind of be ahead of the trend, so to speak, and ready to talk about those things with your customers. And in that same place, you'll be able to have your portal access, your sales and tech certifications. You'll just need to go and look under the training tab once you get
Hey, Ross.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys got me super excited. I got to tell you, the excitement is flowing in the room. As a reseller, if does a reseller or do a partner or myself, do I have to go through this process in chronological order to become a Hive Jedi?
Not at all. Matter of fact, the idea here is that we want to encourage everybody, and I almost forgot the title of the whole slide. You want to become a PaperCut Hive Jedi, and by the way, May the 4th be with you, everyone. Today's date, for especially my nerdy friends. Hence the Star Wars theme. But yeah, Dominic, to your point, pick and choose any which step that you want to start off with. Jump right in. If you're looking to get your portal access because you haven't looked and been on there in a while, reach out to channel manager. Let's do that. If you want to go ahead and start your sales and technical certification, or let's face it, if you want to jump into talking with a customer and getting them a trial, that's going to be something else that you can absolutely do. And Jimmy, actually, will you go to the next slide for me?
Sure can.
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Whether it be that you're going to go ahead and request the trial or a POC with a customer and you want to get engagement started right away, let's just say you're fired up after watching this presentation, absolutely. Now, I do want to encourage everybody to do the process to become a Hive Jedi, and that includes actually getting that NFR installed done. We do want you to have your own dealer access, your own admin portal, your ability to make changes, do fun things, be in front of customers. You always have us here as your resource, but that just helps really your sales team to have more of a hands-on experience. And once they've downloaded that app and seen how it works, you'll be surprised how much they gravitate towards it and really see it as a great solution. So let's do that. Dominic, speaking of NFR, going through the process of becoming a Hive Jedi and all those great things, what do we have for anyone who goes through that full step-by-step process? And
Oh
why don't
boy,
you guys take it from
Ross, you did it again. Boy, I mean, putting you on the spot once again. So what we are offering, for everybody that attended this awesome webinar, and thank you, team, for really putting on a good webinar. We're offering everybody a shirt, right? A PaperCut branded shirt. If you complete your Hive Jedi requirements by May 30th. Mostly if you complete your sales and technical training sessions, you log into the portal and you complete it, and boom, let your channel manager know. Actually, they will know because they'll get a notification, and you will receive a awesome PaperCut shirt, branded shirt. So yeah, please everyone, go ahead and sign up if you haven't done so already. Log into the portal and get those sales and technical tests completed. But Ross, you did stop recording that, right?
For your sake, let's have sit down. I'm really excited to hear that. And Jimmy, I don't know if you want to just put up the process again, or we can just put up the thank you slide. But yeah, absolutely. I thank everyone for taking the time to listen to us today. I hope that we were able to get the message across clearly for the Hive product. Dom, do we have any questions or anything in the chat that's kind of pending we want to go through for those who are still on the call?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because there has been a lot of activity in these chats, in the chat here, with awesome questions. So before we finish today's session off, we allotted, between 2 to 2:30. So we'll leave the floor open for anybody to answer or to ask any questions, and we will answer them live as the questions come in.
Hey,
So
Dom.
yep, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you. We have a member in the chat asking if there would be a way if we could log into the portal to show our audience where to take the courses that you just mentioned. I think they're excited about the
Great
t-shirt,
idea.
Dominic.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, I
You got
thought
them
you
pumped.
guys muted me on that part. I didn't record it. My goodness. So Jimmy, are you able to, or Ross, perhaps you can share your screen?
I am working on that as we speak.
Yeah, and wait again. Now Leslie, you put someone else in the hot spot. Look at that.
Sorry, Jimmy.
Gotta
Let's
keep these
log
things
in.
interesting.
Yeah.
All right, very good. So now that I'm logged into the portal, let's go to training. And over here, near the top, you can click on a button that jumps you down a little further. So depending on which track you want to take, we'll start with the sales real quick. And this sales foundation, here we go, Sales Hive, PaperCut Hive Sales Introduction. Click on more info. And here it gives you the details about the course, a basic outline. And then what you can do is you can just click on get started, and that'll take you right into the course. Of course, you're going to log in. Now,
Hey, Jimmy.
Yes.
Can
yeah,
I ad
absolutely.
lib with you for a second here? I think it's important to point out to everyone that the course, it did say it was an hour and a half long, but you can start and stop as much as you want. So if you want to take 20 minutes each day for the next week during your lunch, you can do that. Complete a module, log out and log back in. It'll save how far you've gone and you pick up where you left off. Right, Jimmy?
That's absolutely right. Yeah. In fact, divide and conquer is probably a good way to do it.
Yep.
I agree. Yep.
And for those that are curious, because I know a lot of our audience is, the course is actually it's really, really well done, and it's quite has some funny moments too. So if you're looking for some knowledge and a laugh, this is your place.
Yeah. PaperCut never disappoints.
Yeah. No, we're not the only ones excited about it. They bring that through too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there is another course. We don't want the technical folks to feel left out here.
Especially for tomorrow's training, right, Jimmy? There's a technical one tomorrow in case someone didn't see the invite for that as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, let's
So
jump over.
Jimmy, on
Yep.
your technical course tomorrow, are you going to be diving a bit deeper into the product itself?
Short answer is yes. Short answer is yes. And what we'll do is we'll definitely encourage folks to go in and take that course. Let me get back to a little further close. It's called Getting Techie with PaperCut Hive. Let's go down to the technical. Here we go. Getting Techie with PaperCut Hive. This is actually, just jump in. It says it runs about 2 to 3 hours. Honestly, I had to go through this in about 5. Took me a little bit longer. Maybe I'm a slow learner, but I give it a little bit more time. Here, we definitely aren't going to spend 5 hours tomorrow, but we want to give you a nice cursory overview from a technical perspective to help get you started, help understand a little bit more, and it'll supplement, I think, a little bit of what we're providing in the Getting Techie. This is really, if you could think of this as anything, it's very similar to PaperCut MF's technical foundation course, except it's with PaperCut, Pocket, and Hive. Gets into the edge mesh, gets into edge nodes, installation, understanding how the cloud node works, all that good stuff.
That's correct. And just by the way, for everyone who's looking at this and maybe you've tried clicking on the link, if you are not getting access, maybe you've never tried before, you're a sales rep on the team, managers and other partners within the organizations who are admin within the portal can invite you. So just make sure you reach out to your solution specialist, your manager, ask them for access to the PaperCut portal, and they can send you an email invite. And if you still have problems and need to reach out, please feel free to do so and we'll help you.
Excellent. All righty. So thank you, Jimmy, for going through the portal and showing us where we can take those tests. I was hoping you wouldn't do that, because then now I'm going to have to give out more t-shirts. Thanks a lot. No, I'm just joking. Everyone, please take advantage of getting those certs done. get it done by May 30th, and we will send you some goodies. Again, thank you, team. You did a phenomenal job. Thank you, everyone that have attended. We appreciate you taking out the time doing this. And I guess, yeah, now's the time to say, we'll see you tomorrow, hopefully, on the technical session.
Yep. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.